Was the Pfizer COVID vaccine tested on stopping the transmission of the virus before it entered the market?
Regarding the question around, did we know about stopping immunisation before it's entered the market? No.
People should not be walking around with masks.
You're sure of it, because people are listening really closely to this.
Right now, people should not be walking. There's no reason to be walking around with a mask. When you're in the middle of an outbreak, wearing a mask might make people feel a little bit better, and it might even block a droplet, but it's not providing the perfect protection that people think that it is.
Andrew, the only thing I can do is repeat what I repeat maybe 20, 30 times a day, that in order to avoid the acquisition and transmission of this virus, which is highly transmissible, you should have uniform wearing of masks. The fact is, the most prevailing issue involved here is that if we can get as many people vaccinated as we possibly can, as quickly and as efficiently we can, particularly in the context of the BLA now that has come out from Pfizer and the availability of other vaccines on EUA, we can end this as a pandemic even sooner. So rather than focus on the situation of getting a specific timeline, I would like to appeal to this country, to the people in the country who are not vaccinated, to realize that we have the capability among ourselves to essentially cut down the time frame to getting the end of this pandemic very, very clearly by just listening to everything you've heard on this press conference. Get vaccinated and the time frame will be truncated dramatically.
But she's had the flu for 14 days. Should she get a flu shot?
Well, no. If she got the flu for 14 days, she's as protected as anybody can be, because the best vaccination is to get infected yourself.
And so she should not get it?
If she really has the flu, she definitely doesn't need a flu vaccine. If she really has the flu,
she should not get it again.
No, she doesn't need it, because it's the most potent vaccination is getting infected yourself.
The NIH continues to refuse to voluntarily divulge the names of scientists who receive royalties and from which companies. Over the period of time from 2010 to 2016, 27,000 royalty payments were paid to 1,800 NIH employees. We know that, not because you told us, but because we forced you to tell us through the Freedom of Information Act. Over $193 million was given to these 1,800 employees. Can you tell me that you have not received a royalty from any entity that you ever oversaw the distribution of money in research grants?
Well, first of all, let's talk about royalty.
That's the question. No, that's the question. Have you ever received a royalty payment from a company that you later oversaw money going to that company?
You know, I don't know as a fact, but I doubt it.
Well, here's the thing is, why don't you let us know? Why don't you reveal how much you've gotten and from what entities? The NIH, we asked them whether or not, who got it and how much. They refused to tell us. They sent it redacted. Here's what I want to know. It's not just about you. Everybody on the vaccine committee, have any of them ever received money from the people who make vaccines?
On April 29, 2020, Operation Warp Speed was announced. The purpose of this initiative was to, quote, accelerate the development, manufacturing, and distribution of the COVID-19 vaccines, therapeutics, and diagnostics, end quote.
We have the mightiest military in the long history of humankind. We have the best and most devoted workers ever to walk the face of the earth. And now we're combining all of these amazing strengths for the most aggressive vaccine project in history. There's never been a vaccine project anywhere in history like this.
This allowed Big Pharma to thwart the typical rigorous protocols that are required to produce a vaccine. But it wasn't just Operation Warp Speed that was used to produce the vaccine for the novel coronavirus. The government, in collusion with Big Pharma, took advantage of the PrEP Act, emergency use authorization, and most of all, fear.
The risk for all of us of becoming infected will be increasing. Also directed the Department of Health to declare a public health emergency.
There is no doubt that there will be more cases where we find people who test positive.
The novel coronavirus outbreak spreading across the world, now hitting the United States from coast to coast.
Hart Island is New York City's Potter's Field, where those with no family or means to arrange a funeral are laid to rest. They used to bury 25 people a week here. In the age of the coronavirus, it's about that number every day.
Well, no Thanksgiving with extended family members here in Utah. That's a new recommendation from Dr. Deborah Birx, White House Coronavirus Task Force Coordinator.
I'm really asking the people of Utah for the next 30 to 60 days to really follow these guidelines, which includes not gathering outside your extended household.
In the face of soaring COVID numbers, Birx called this the moment to protect loved ones.
We need to protect them now because a vaccine is coming.
We are in a situation now, we have about 70 million people in the United States who are eligible to be vaccinated who have not gotten vaccinated. We've really got to get to those people to get them vaccinated because that propagates the outbreak. Fundamentally, this is an outbreak of the unvaccinated.
Most of the population doesn't know what the PrEP Act even is, yet they have been injected with the vaccine that was only made possible so quickly with the use of the PrEP Act. A declaration of the, quote, Public Readiness and Emergency Preparedness Act, or PrEP Act for short, was issued by then HHS Secretary Alan Azar in March of 2020 to, quote, provide immunity to qualified individuals, end quote, regarding the COVID-19 vaccine. Who are these qualified individuals? According to PHE.gov, the term qualified individuals is extremely broad and shields these people from any prosecution such as, quote, manufacturers, distributors, states, localities, licensed healthcare professionals, and other identified by the Secretary who administer COVID-19 countermeasures. Then, just 8 months later, the final piece of the puzzle was in place. In December of 2020, the FDA awarded the major vaccine developers such as Pfizer, Moderna, and BioNTech an emergency use authorization, which allows, quote, the use of unapproved medical products or unapproved uses of approved medical products in an emergency to diagnose, treat, or prevent serious or life-threatening diseases. Why would Big Pharma take all of these steps to protect themselves from any liability for a vaccine that they claim is, quote, safe and effective, and recommend and even require people to get? Learn the truth that the mainstream media and Big Pharma do not want you to know.